I'm here with the Evolution of Trust. I don't really know what this is, but it's by Nicky, who I think is a great creator. I think it has something to do with game theory, so we'll see what happens here. During World War I, peace broke out. It was Christmas 1914 on the Western Front. Despite strict orders, British and German soldiers left their trench to gather, bury their dead, exchange gifts, and play games. Meanwhile, it's 2017. The West has been at peace for decades, and we suck at trust. Surveys show that we trust each other less than ever. So here's our puzzle. Why, even in peacetime, do friends become enemies, and why, even in war times, do enemies become friends? Game theory can help explain our epidemic of distrust and how we can fix it. So let's play a game. Alright. You have one choice. In front of you is a machine. If you put a coin in the machine, the other player gets 3 coins, and vice versa. You both can either choose to cooperate or cheat. Okay. Let's say the other player cheats and doesn't put in a coin. What should you do? We should also cheat. Exactly. Why let that moocher mooch off of you? If you cooperate and they cheat, you lose a coin while they gain 3. If we both cheat, neither of you gain or lose anything. You should cheat. Let's say the other person cooperates. We should both cooperate. Well, I mean, technically you gain more if you cheat, but like, if you keep playing more rounds, you should both cooperate, I guess. Seems like the right thing to do because we should still cheat because we get more out of it. That's the dilemma. Trust is nice, but it can let others take advantage of you, or shoot you as you come unarmed out of a trench. Let's play the game. Yeah, here we go. Okay, so more than once. Let's play for real. 5 different opponents, each with their own game strategy. With each opponent, you'll play anywhere between 3 to 7 rounds. You won't know in advance when the last round is. Can you trust them, or rather, can they trust you? Pick your first real move. Choose wisely. So the key thing here is that we are playing against 5 different opponents, but we're going to play against each opponent more than one time. 3 to 7 rounds. I guess we start with 0 coins, so I think my first real move would probably just be cooperate. Alright, we both cooperate. We get money. We get more money back. Alright, well, I'm just gonna keep cooperating until they stop cooperating. Well, that was easy. Alright. Free money. I'm just gonna keep going. That's crazy. That's crazy. I am not falling for your shenanigans again. I'm gonna cheat until you start cooperating again. Actually, even if you cooperate again, I'm still gonna cheat. Alright, so I lose money, because if they just continuously cheat, then at the very least it is impossible for them to lose anything. But he would have gotten more money if we had both just cooperated, which is the interesting dynamic. Because if he had just trusted, and we had trusted as well, we would have been like, what, 10-10 or whatever? 8-8? But instead he only gets 3 coins, and then I just don't trust him for the rest of the match. So there's like really no benefit to cheating, because even though you get money, if you play more than one round, you're gonna be worse off because they're not gonna cooperate anymore. Yeah, I'm just gonna keep going with my stratagem. I'm just gonna keep cooperating, but then if they cheat, I'm gonna cheat the rest of the way. Alright, it's working out. We're getting rich. We're getting so much money. Damn, this guy has a nice hat. I like this guy's hat. You know what? I'm gonna cooperate with you. You seem cool. I'm just gonna keep doing this thing. I'm just gonna keep cooperating over and over again until I can't anymore. Until they cheat on me. Okay. We got Sherlock Holmes. Alright. That is crazy work. Okay, and now I cheat on you. How dare you? Yeah, I'm just gonna keep cheating on you. I don't trust you anymore. Now we're both worse off. We could have had so much money, but instead you've ruined it for everyone. Alright. Your total score is 34, which is pretty good. The lowest and highest possible scores are 7 and 49 respectively. So who are these strange characters you just played against? Copycat? I start with cooperate, and afterwards I just copy whatever you did in the last round. That seems like a pretty good strategy. Always cheat, the strong shall eat the weak. Always cooperate, let's be best friends. Okay. The Grudger. I'll start cooperating and keep cooperating, but if you ever cheat on me, I'll cheat you back till the end of Tarnation. Okay, so this was my strategy. My strategy is the Grudger. I start by cooperating, because if we both cooperate, we're both better off. But if they cheat on me once, I'm not going to take that risk for the rest of the round. Detective. First I analyze you. I start cooperate, cheat, cooperate. Jesus, you are thinking way too hard. Just keep cooperating. If you cheat back, I'll act like copycat. Interesting. If you never cheat back, I'll act like always cheat to exploit you. Elementary. Okay, interesting. What if these characters were to play against each other? I think the copycat would probably be in a pretty good spot. Either the copycat or maybe like the detective. Each character will now play against each other character. That's 10 paired matches and 10 per round. Who do you think will get the highest total score? Think carefully about it and then place your bets. I'm gonna go with cooperate. I mean, not cooperate, the copycat. You place your bet on copycat. Let's go through the matches and see how the tournament plays out. Okay, yeah, so the always cheat is gonna beat the copycat, probably gonna beat this person. I wonder how the always cheat and the detective are gonna go. I presume the always cheat would win. So actually, I guess the always cheat is probably gonna win the whole thing, because they're gonna take money from this, they're gonna take money from you, they're gonna take money from you, and they're gonna take money from you. And then if they always cheat, they never lose points. Well, actually, no, because... But the other side is that when they always cooperate, they get way more points. So the always cheat might win the most, like, rounds, but the people who, like, cooperate with each other are gonna get the most points. You may be skeptical about that Christmas story. It was neither unique nor unusual. Copycat versus detective? I mean, yeah, that makes sense. Not every trench joined in peace, but it was pretty widespread. Despite specific orders, strict orders not to. And yeah, they're gonna just exploit the always cooperate person. Even before Christmas, several front lines had already established an unofficial secret peace. Yeah, they're gonna get, like, nothing. There's gonna be no traction here, because they're basically just gonna do what I did, which is just get screwed over in the first round, and then just go even every other round. They called it the live and let live system. Basically, you don't shoot me, I don't shoot you, and it worked in a lot of places. You may still be skeptical, most soldiers don't spontaneously form peace with the enemy. What's so special about trench warfare? So if you look at the point total, it is the copycat on top right now. Here's what's unique about the trenches. Unlike almost every form of warfare, you have to face the same specific soldiers every day. It's a repeated game, and that makes all the difference. Okay, yeah, the detective and the always cooperate. Because the detective knows they can exploit the always cooperate, they just kept cheating. So I think the copycat actually won. Okay. So maybe I should... Maybe, because I was doing the grudger strategy, but if these are the actors, I suppose the copycat strategy is, like, the most consistent. Copycat goes by many names: the golden rule, reciprocal altruism, tit for tat, live and let live. That's why peace can emerge in the trenches of World War I, when you're forced to play the same game with the specific people. I see. Okay. The copycat doesn't just win the battle, it wins the war. Okay. Things change a lot when you play multiple rounds of the same game. What if you play multiple tournaments? It's a 3-step dance. Play a tournament, eliminate the losers, and reproduce winners. Oh, okay, so now we have, like, natural selection. So the people who get the lowest points get kicked out. So let me think about that. So then the always cooperate will probably get kicked out. I think the copycat might still win. Because I think the always cooperate person is probably going to be the first out. And then probably once the always cooperate person is out, I think the always cheat person might be the next one out. Because then they have no one to exploit. And then when that's out, it's probably just going to be the copycat, the detective, and the grudger. And I think the grudger might actually beat the detective. I think it's going to come down to copycats and grudgers, but I think the copycat is probably still going to... I think it's just going to come down to copycats and grudgers, and since they just are always going to cooperate with each other, it's just going to be like a pool of those players. That's my hypothesis. Oh, we're only starting with them. Okay. I think you're going to start to see the always cooperates dwindle away, but then as the always cooperates start dwindling away, you'll see the always cheating start dwindling away because they don't have anyone to exploit. Whereas the copycats are going to be like farming points off of each other, and so they're going to start coming out on top. Place your bets again. I think copycat's going to win. Let's see if you're correct. Okay, yeah, so the cheaters are gonna be fine here, and you're gonna see some of these always cooperate people get eliminated. Reproduce top 5. Oh. I didn't realize it reproduced the top 5. I thought it just eliminated the bottom 5. Okay, I'm still gonna stand by my hypothesis. Same thing's gonna happen. They get eliminated, replaced by the cheaters. Okay, so now my hypothesis is that the copycats are gonna start dominating. Because they're gonna just start cooperating with each other, and they're gonna make way more points than all the cheaters. So yeah, you're gonna see this happen over and over again. They exploited the always cooperators, but once they ran out of them, they had to face the copycats, who are nice but not naive. By simply copying the other players' moves, they can play nice with each other, while always cheats just cheat themselves. Oh wow. And there it is, the copycats win. Copycats inherit the earth. So in the long run, you were right, copycats win. Always cheat may have won in the short run, but its exploitativeness was its downfall. So, the only thing is, like, if there are not multiple rounds, the always cheats should win in this situation. Because they will, if there was only one round, they make more points than the copycats. And you could argue in like a situation where maybe someone's life is on the line, you don't get multiple lives. So if like a copycat and a always cheat, let's say we're doing like a Russian roulette style thing, if there was only one round, the cheater is going to win like every time. I think the copycats benefit the more rounds there are, because then they get to farm points off of each other. The result is similar even if you put Grudger and Detective back in. Okay, so my hypothesis here is that the always cooperates, or not the always cooperates, the copycats and the Grudgers are going to be the last ones alive. I think the always cooperates are going to be the first to go, and then once they go, maybe the always cheat people go, and then the detectives are probably going to start getting dwindled down, because once they cheat for the second time, the Grudgers are no longer going to cooperate with them, so they're going to start getting dwindled out, and then it's just going to be the Grudgers and the copycats just farming points off of each other. Let's see. Yeah, there it is. A few Grudgers may stick around because when all players except Grudger and copycat are eliminated, the two tie. Yeah, so you can see it's just the Grudgers and the copycats. It seems the math of game theory is telling us something. That copycats' philosophy, do unto others as you would have them do unto you, is not just a moral truth, but also a mathematical truth. The world's full of total jerkwads. If copycat is the strategy in this repeated game of trust that's so powerful that even soldiers in trenches independently evolved a similar strategy called live and let live, why are there so many untrusting, untrustworthy people? What's causing this epidemic? A clue's in that sentence itself, in this repeated game of trust. So far, we've only talked about change in the players. What about a change in the game? What could lead to the evolution of distrust? Again, I think one variable is if there's just one round. Because if there's just one round, then the copycat is just going to get screwed over in that one round. And so they're going to start to distrust because they can't respond to anything. The copycat gets nerfed the less rounds there are. Current rules, which say that players play against each other for 10 rounds per match. What about 7 rounds? 3, 2, 1. Yeah, so this is what I was saying. If there's less rounds, then the copycats are going to get nerfed. Let's try less rounds. Let's say, like... Okay, first of all, we'll start with, like, 20 rounds. Yeah, so same thing happens. Now let's say we have 5 rounds. Yeah, so this was my 5 round. And the always cheats dominate here. But you can see they actually have 0 points. So it's not like they actually dominate, because they don't even make points. They just kill everybody else, and then they never get to have any points. In 1985, when Americans were asked how many close friends they had, common answer was 3. In 2004, most common answer was 0. As you just discovered for yourself, the fewer repeat interactions there are, the more distrust will spread. Okay, so when people have less interaction with each other, there will be more distrust because there are quote-unquote fewer rounds of interaction. There's another way to breed distrust. Here are the payoffs for the trust game. With the normal payoffs, copycat wins, but now change the both cooperate reward from 2 to 1, then click start. Even though +1 is still more, Then the punishment for both cheating. Okay. So if we lower this to 1, then there's less reward for cooperating and more reward for cheating. And when there's more incentive for cheating, we'll see what happens. Oh, wow. Alright. So the two hypotheses we have so far are, if the less rounds there are, the more the always cheats tend to win. And obviously, if there's less reward for cooperating and inversely more reward for cheating, cheating is going to prosper. Okay, I want to try something. So if we upgrade this to 2, but let's say we just upgrade this to 4. What does this do? Okay, it's the same thing. What if we upgrade it to 5? Alright, so that's the magic number. Once this hits 5, the always cheats begin to dominate. Or if this is at like 1. The same thing happens with a lower win-win reward, always cheats takes over. Game theory has 2 powerful ideas about this. Yep, zero-sum game. Sadly common belief that gain for us must come at a loss to them. Non-zero-sum game. This is when people make the hard effort to create a win-win solution where both people are better off. Without the non-zero-sum game, trust cannot evolve. Let's now look at our third and final barrier. Mistakes. As cool as Copycat is, it has a huge fatal weakness I haven't mentioned yet. To understand the problem, let's say 2 copycats are playing against each other. They're both going to cooperate. They just pay back each other's kindness until the end of time. But what if, while trying to reciprocate... Okay. Mistakes, miscommunication, misinterpretations, accidents happen all the time in real life. But if the other person doesn't think it was an accident, then they're gonna start cheating and they're gonna just cheat on each other forever. Had to retaliate. And you, being a copycat as well, will also have to retaliate. So now they're both... Interesting. So now they're just gonna farm money off of each other. These 2 copycats will spiral into an endless cycle of vengeance. Oh god, okay, we have new faces. Copy Kitten. I am like Copycat, except I cheat back only after you cheat me twice in a row. Hi, I try start cooperate. If you cooperate back, I do the same thing as last move, even if it... Mistake. If you cheat back, I do opposite thing as last move, even if it mistake. I don't know what that means. Okay, so if they cooperate, and then their opponent cooperates, they just keep cooperating with each other. But if their opponent cheats, they will also cheat. Okay. Random. They will just play cheat or cooperate with a 50-50 chance. Okay. So we have all of these people. Oh god, okay. In each round, players have a small chance of making a mistake, 5%. Who do you think comes out on top? Okay, so we actually don't have any all cheating here, which means the always cooperates might actually not be in a terrible spot, but we do have random. I'm gonna go with the copy kittens. I think they might win. Okay, no, they got absolutely smoked. Your bet was close but no cigar. Simpleton wins. This is because Simpleton is actually capable of exploiting always cooperate. They both start cooperating, but if Simpleton makes a mistake and cheats, since always cooperate never retaliates, it'll keep cheating on him. Yeah, I just don't really understand the Simpleton. So if Simpleton cheats, it will just keep cheating. I see, because it just does, if always cooperate cooperates, the Simpleton will just keep doing the thing it did last round. Okay. The same thing as before, except instead of half always cooperate, it's half always cheat. More hostile environment. I'm going to go with Copycat. Oh, wow. Oh, I see. Because the because the copycats end up making mistakes, and when they make mistakes, they sabotage each other. But the copy kittens are more forgiving, and so they're actually able to benefit off of each other more than the copycats can. I mean, the copycats are still alive, but yeah, the copy kittens definitely are more dominant. That's surprising that with an even meaner starting population, copy kitten, a more forgiving version of copycat, was the most successful. In this case, a bit of miscommunication, 5% chance of mistake each round, could lead to more forgiveness. But is this true for all levels of miscommunication? Use the slider below to change the amount of miscommunication. Okay, so this is like mistakes. I think if there are less mistakes... No, I think if there are more mistakes, maybe the copy kitten continues to dominate. No, the copy kitten's out immediately. And the always cheats take over. Interesting. And if it goes really high, I presume the same thing happens. Yeah, okay. 10%. Okay, same thing happens. So at 5%, the copy kittens end up dominating. What about at like 8%? Oh wow. Okay, so at 8%, the copycats actually end up dominating. That's weird. 7%. The copycats and the copy kittens. Okay, so the 7 to 8% is the difference between the copycats and the copy kittens dominating. Although, of course, there's probably some, like, variance there. What if we go to, like... Okay, so if we are at a 0% chance, I presume the copycats probably end up winning. Yeah, okay, so the copycats end up winning. There's still some copy kittens, but it's basically just the copycats. Wow, this is so weird. Okay. So at the higher percents, it ends up being the always cheating. Around the 7 to 8, it kind of like bounces between the copycats and the copy kittens. And then like at this lower end, it ends up being the copycats. The result turns out something like this. At 0%, the fair copycat wins. At 1 to 9%, the forgiving copy kitten wins. And at 10 to 49, the always cheat wins. At 50%, nobody wins ever. It's just a constant battle. This is why miscommunication is such an interesting barrier to trust. A little bit of it leads to forgiveness, but too much and it leads to widespread distrust. I think our modern media technology, as much as it has helped us increase communication, has increased our miscommunication much more. Okay, so the idea here is that when there are no mistakes, the copycat wins, but with some mistakes, a bit of forgiveness ends up paying out. But once there's too much cheating, the always cheats start to benefit. Alright, so game theory has shown us 3 things we need for the evolution of trust. Repeat interactions. Trust keeps our relationship going, but you need the knowledge of possible future repeat interactions before trust can evolve. Yeah, because if you can only interact with someone once, then they could very easily cheat on you with no consequences. But if you have to like meet every day and do the same thing, you're going to be much more likely to like want to cooperate with them, because even if you like short-sightedly win the first round by cheating, you're going to be screwed over in every future round. So the more rounds there are, the more the copycat, and I presume the copy kitten, benefits. Win-wins. You have to be playing a non-zero-sum game, a game where it's at least possible that both players can be better off. So you have to be playing a non-zero-sum game where the benefit of cooperating is greater than the cost of not cooperating and getting cheated on. And you need low miscommunication. Because if the level of miscommunication is too high, as we saw, the always cheats end up winning. So when there's a little bit, the copy kittens end up winning, and when there's none, the copycats end up winning. Of course, real-world trust is affected by much more than this. Alright, the biggest lesson. What the game is defines what the players do. Our problem today isn't just that people are losing trust, it's that our environment acts against the evolution of trust. That may seem cynical or naive, that we're merely products of our environment, but as game theory reminds us, we are each other's environment. In the short run, the game defines the players, but in the long run, it's us players who define the game. So what you can do to create the conditions necessary to evolve trust is build relationships, find win-wins, and communicate clearly. Okay. So basically, play many rounds, don't just play one round with a person. Play many rounds and evolve that trust. Find scenarios where you're not in a zero-sum game. So find situations where there's actually an incentive to both cooperate. Because if the incentive is, let's say, +1/+1 instead of +2/+2, then in comparison, cheating is more lucrative. And communicate clearly, because miscommunication, when it gets too large, leads to cheating actually winning out. Or if you're in an environment where there is some degree of miscommunication, long term it's actually better to be more forgiving, to be a quote-unquote copy kitten instead of a copycat. But the important thing in that situation is to be aware that there is miscommunication in that sort of environment, because then you can kind of like attune your level of forgiveness in accordance to that. I've never thought of like the game theory importance of communication. Maybe then we can stop firing at each other, cross no man's land, and all learn to live and let live. What a bunch of copycats. Alright, so let's think about this. So, they had multiple rounds. I guess they didn't have a large degree of miscommunication. Or if they did, they were more forgiving. And the incentive to both cooperate was, I guess, higher because of, like, it being Christmas and whatnot. And because they were both tired of the trench warfare. Alright, well that's interesting. What a cool game by Nicky Case. Based off of the book, The Evolution of Cooperation. So that was The Evolution of Trust. So I'm just going to surmise what I learned there. So the best strategy in that situation is actually not to be a grudger. Although the grudger was able to like survive, but the best overall strat is to be a copycat when there are multiple rounds. So one thing I will say is that when both people cheated, the cost was 0. So you didn't lose anything for cheating when the other person cheated as well. So, for example, if there was like a cost for both of you cheating, like if both people cheating led to -1, I think that would actually be like a really strong disincentive from cheating. But since it is 0, technically if you just keep cheating, you'll never lose anything. You won't gain a lot, but you won't lose anything. So it's like the least risky play. When the rewards are skewed towards both people cooperating, the copycats end up dominating. And then when there's a degree of miscommunication, there's like a weird middle zone where having forgiveness actually leads to dominance with the copy kittens. But then if there's no miscommunication, of course the copycats just end up winning. And if there is too much miscommunication, then even the copycats get taken advantage of too much, and so do the copy kittens, and so the always cheats end up dominating. And then when the mistakes are 50-50, it doesn't really matter because it's basically just random at that point. Alright, that was really cool. I'm not super knowledgeable on like game theory stuff, so I'll look into more stuff related to game theory at some point, but this was a very cute explanation on that kind of stuff. And what I'll take away from this, I guess, is that maybe I should be more of a copycat. Alright, so I found a website actually, the website that the Evolution of Trust was made on. I think this is, what is it called? Explorables, I think? And there's a lot of other like little games on here related to like social sciences, programming, psychology, civics, economics, philosophy, all this stuff. And as someone who's like kind of interested in all these things, I might actually play more of these games at some point and see what I can learn. So yeah, very cool website and a very cool game.